Hey, tell the people about the pants. You pay brand new to get pants with holes in them.
I like holes.
I've got a whole drawer full of them.
That's our
Hey,
holy,
she paid $60 for those.
No, I got a
I'd
fortune in
I'd sell them for 20.
those are church clothes. Holy
Yeah. Okay. There's always been fads like that down through history, hasn't there? Where you buy.
And history repeats itself.
Yeah, yeah.
First
Okay.
dye-dyed shirts looked like they were stained.
Right.
Or bell bottoms.
Okay, tell us about the trip, brother. What all did you guys do and where you been? And
How many
Well,
Bibles did you give out?
we're almost 8,000 Bibles now.
amen.
Somewhere right around 23,000 miles we've put on that old motorhome.
23,000.
That we ain't done yet.
You know what? So sometimes we get stuck places, and especially now because we travel on love offerings.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. And with all the churches closed, it's just not working out. So
Yeah.
on the way back home, after we left here, we got stuck in Tonopah, Nevada for 3 days. This is a town with
No
2
service.
churches, 4 brothals,
No church.
6 casinos. So these people
Yeah.
are very
Not like that.
comfortable in their sin.
Yeah.
They don't want anybody messing with it. So this pastor named Jamie, it was his 4th week there, just out of seminary, and they send him to this gospel church in Tonopah, Nevada.
Oh,
His congregation hates him. He said the first week there was 9 people and it went okay. The second week there was 35 people in there, and Monday morning there was 7 calls complaining about his preaching. And he was just very discouraged, and I'm pretty sure that he's the reason we were stuck there for 3 days.
Encourage him.
The morning of the 3rd day, I'm out there holding a cardboard sign that says Bibles for you. My wife has one that says Sharing Jesus. And we just got a few cases of Bibles, and people are just pulling over. We're just giving them Bibles,
Yeah.
giving them Bibles. The 3rd morning we're there, this guy drives by me, and you can tell when people are trying to not read your sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they expect it to say, we'll work for food, or I
Right,
need beer money, or
yeah,
whatever.
yep.
And so this guy, you can tell he just barely catches me out of the corner of his eye as he's pulling off. So 50 feet down the road, he pulls over. Sits there for 15 minutes. Well, it turns out he was praying. Then he flips a U, he comes back and says, what are you doing? I said, I'm just sharing the word of God, sir. You know, I'm just trying to share the gospel. That's what Jesus wants us to do. That's what I'm trying to do. He said, well, I'm a Gideon. And so anyway, he bought us breakfast. We ended up visiting for an hour or something. And
Sorry.
and then he leaves. And
Here, did you lose your marbles?
so after he leaves,
Rachel, come here.
after he leaves,
He bought us breakfast and everything.
a while later, I meet with Jamie again. Jamie pulls up, and I pray with him again. And,
Hey.
and I tell him, I said, if you can't get them with the word, I said, start serving meals. Make a big meal on Wednesday, and have a service, you know, free food Wednesday night. You know, just get the fellowship going, and then,
My buddy here.
anyways, so 20 minutes after Jamie leaves us the last time,
I'm freaking
this
out.
Gideon pulls back up, and I said, what are you doing here? He lives 200 miles away.
Right.
And when he left us after he bought us breakfast, he said he had a 200-mile drive home and he was ready to get home and rest.
Halfway there.
So
turned back
he
around.
pulls up to my window and I said, I figured you'd be home by now. He said, well, funny thing is I got 100 miles away from here and the Holy Spirit stopped me like a brick wall and told me to come back and fill up your tank.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Hey, brother.
Why you didn't tell me to do that the first time when I was here, when we were visiting, I don't know.
It would have
I said
been a
it's
lot
because I
easier
wasn't
than
done.
me.
I wasn't done yet.
And he was,
Had someone I needed to talk to and encourage, so.
So it cost him $100 for 100 miles worth of driving to listen to the Holy Spirit. Okay.
Yeah. Did he donate Bibles to you on the past pass out? Huh?
Did he donate Bibles for y'all to pass out?
No, we're,
Well, I know y'all were passing out Bibles.
These are
I
Gideon
figured
Bibles.
he might have, did he?
These are
Well,
Gideon.
the guy who started this
Was
ministry
the
was a
Gideon,
Gideon.
yeah.
Okay.
He's passed away now, but
But we gave him some of them, didn't we?
yeah, we gave him Bibles
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
another.
Is it okay with your mommy?
Ted Turner was a guy we met at a
Yeah.
truck rally. And we gave a Bible
Huh?
to.
From, you talking about the
He'd swallow it.
No, no.
No,
because he's actually.
No, not that guy either.
no, this guy's a good guy. And he got certified as a Gideon. I'm not sure exactly what that entails.
I'm not sure how they get certified either. But
He got certified as a Gideon, and he took 3 cases of youth Bibles into a
To a school.
Public school.
elementary public school.
Yep.
wow.
And,
Yep.
and this is the day after Trump signed something saying the Bible can be back
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
in schools here.
Yeah, but you went in there, they gave all the Bibles away.
I was, to go along with what you're saying, and you go to your prison ministries or rehab ministries or whatever, there was a profound saying, he said, they took our Bibles and prayer out of school, but yet that's the first thing they'll hand an inmate when he goes to jail. Now, if they handed the Bible out in school, maybe they would go up to jail.
Perhaps.
Perhaps, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, there. Okay. What?
Windows?
Huh?
Sometimes have windows.
You had one. Did you like it? Well, hello. You got the whole tribe here, huh? Man.
We're all here.
All here. President accounted for.
That's awesome.
All right. Go sit with mommy. You got your shoes on the wrong feet. Okay. Say moose poop over here. Moose poop. She got it. She got it. Okay. Go see mom. There we go. Here. Go see mom.
Good job there, Doc.
That's my buddy. Right there, right there, right there. Okay. All right. Welcome to Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama, March 29th. Let's see, all the visitors here today. Brother, tell us all about your family and where you're from and all that. Talk loud so they can hear you on the mic here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we came over from Houston, and we're happy to be here. Thankful that you have fellowship. The Bible does say, forsake not the assembly together.
Okay.
Being together, and it's hard to find a place, so here we are.
Church is closed all over the place.
All over.
So you got all 14 of your kids. How many kids?
8.
Oh, just 8. Okay. Now, for those who don't know, he bought the property at the end of the street, end of Pearl Lane, across the fence. That's his property. He's building another, going to be overflow for Dinosaur Adventureland because we're going to be running over here. So, what, 40 acres or 42 acres or something?
They can't, that family's so big, they're not allowed to be together.
Oh, can't.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We can open it.
All right. And Sean, you and your wife and daughter, when traveling all over, you just gave a brief description. You were put how many miles on your camper?
23,000 miles.
23,000 in the last 6 months.
Right, we have 6 more months to do this.
And you're giving out Bibles, giving out Bibles all over the place. Hey, hey. Awesome. All right, any other visitors here today? First timers, any last timers? Oh, Wie geht's? Sprechen Sie Deutsch, da?
No, I'm South African.
Oh, South African. Okay, I don't speak any South African, sorry. Anyway, good to have you here, brother. How long you in for?
I'll say it's usually 3 days, but I'm hoping to stretch it out a bit because of COVID.
Is that going over South Africa too, pretty bad?
No, I'm actually from the upper New York State, but I'm originally from South Africa.
Okay, yeah, New York State. You can have that whole state, in my opinion. Okay. We like the traffic here in Lenox. All right, now Debbie, tell them where we're on camera here now. Tell them where you're from, and you're new here. Been here, just came a couple days ago.
Yeah, just a couple days ago. I came from North Carolina. I'm just here visiting. I plan on visiting anyway, but my governor was going to shut down the state completely. No travel, so I said, I'm out of here. I'm going to go ahead and go down.
Yay.
So I'm here to do help a little bit with the trees and gardening and stuff.
Yeah, you showed up and they put you right to work, didn't they? Yeah, I know, it's a slave labor camp.
And Doc,
It's fun.
Doc,
Yeah.
we just drove through Denver the other day. There was no traffic.
None. No traffic. It was
Wednesday
supposed to be
afternoon,
bad.
No traffic in Denver.
0 traffic.
Insane. I was like,
That's how it was.
Wow.
You can't, I think 60 people have died from that,
That's 'cause they're-
60 people have died from it.
but over 3,000 been saved by not driving on the road.
Amen.
Yeah.
3,000 saved by not driving on the road. One One idiot was talking about, we had the boy drowned at our lake, you know, and the dad was right there by him, you know, 7-year-old, and we did everything did possible. He just hit his head and disappeared under the water. Nobody saw him. Nobody's fault, just an accident. And so I texted him. I said, you realize 31 people drowned, 31 people drowned in the panhandle of Florida so far this year. Yeah. What are you going to do, put a fence around the ocean? Come on. It just happens. You try to avoid all that stuff, but what do? You know, kids do dumb things once in a while, and the dad's thrilled with the ministry, wants to come back, going to support us and all that, so tell the skeptics to shut up, get a life. Come in, come in. There's the rest of the tribe. Hey, haven't seen her in a long time. How old are you now, ma'am?
7.
7?
No, 7.
8?
No, 7.
How many is this?
11.
10. Now pay attention. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 plus 1 is 7. Okay. We're glad you're back. Have a seat over there. We're the folks who believe at Dinosaur Adventureland that the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate, and the evolution theory is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of planet Earth. Now, yesterday I was down in Bruton, very little traffic. If you go north, just before you get to Walmart, you turn left by the Goodies or whatever it is store there. I saw this. I said, whoa, whoa, who was with me yesterday when I stopped and got the picture? Mark. Would anybody like to take a wild guess at what happened here? Without any comment from me, as you walk up closer, you see the dam broke. That's an old lake. That's down in Bruton, 20 miles from here. Now, question. Why didn't it wash out the entire dam? Didn't need to. Once the water finds a hole, it's going to go through the hole and get... This is miniature Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's a washed out dam. It did not form slowly over millions of years. You guys who believe that have been brainwashed by your education. So come on down. Come on down and see the one in Bruton, Alabama. It doesn't take millions of years. I mentioned the other day about beatbob.com. If you want to book Bob to speak at your church or some event, he gets into public school, shares the gospel. He came here. But one-man volleyball team. He's in Ripley's, believe it or not. He's played over 20,000 volleyball games. He has only lost 400 times out of 20,000. He plays the whole Dallas Cowboys football team. He played us. How many were on the team? 9 of us tried to beat him. He beat all 9 of us by himself. I'm getting old. See, I had to give up volleyball 30 years ago when they outlawed asbestos, because I used to hit it so fast it would catch fire, and I had to use a special asbestos ball. How many do not believe me on that story? Oh, that hurts so bad. Okay.
Liars will not inherit.
Liars do not inherit. Okay. How about those that just stretch it a little bit? Okay. James buying lunch today. Thank you, James. You wrote the book. I meant to bring it in here. We've advertised it before. Please get that book. Fabulous book from James. We're going to go down to Chinese and sit in the parking lot and order our takeout. What else can we do? They won't let... Okay. If you want to get me on radio programs, please do. Chris or Jen are willing to haul stuff. Chris came yesterday, brought in another satellite dish number 6. Awesome. You guys haven't seen dish 3 and 4 work yet.
You got the other ones.
Oh, man, you won't believe it. It's just like people do it and say, I can't believe it.
I'm excited.
You can hear. What's the distance on those, brother?
1,470 feet.
1,470 feet, and you talk like you're standing next to the person. No mics, no wires.
Yeah.
Next one's 2,000 feet. Yep. Anyway, we've now had 83 baptized here. If you want to come help us win souls or just support us so we can, we have 10 lakes, more than 10 now. About 10 lakes on the property. We didn't check all of them, but this one up here we did check, and we know for sure the water goes all the way to the bottom. And there's a lot of fish in there. A guy caught a 7.5-pound fish the other day, and a 5-pounder and a 4-pounder. Big L-shaped piece of property. Yeah. One of the guys caught a fish. Hold your hand up over there. That far from the boat. Explain it to her later, okay? Okay. We've had visitors now from all 50 states and I think 55 countries. So if you want to help us stay open for free, we just want to win souls and influence people, go to drdino.com and join our 777 club. Yes, ma'am.
So on our way here, we went through Idaho.
Yeah.
All in church.
Oh my God, people know you.
And the people knew you there. They went to one of your seminars.
Over in Japan.
Yep.
In Idaho, they met me when I was in Japan.
In Japan.
Yep,
Okay.
they went to one of your
In the
seminars.
90s.
In the 90s. Yeah.
I gave them your cards and stuff.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. They're definitely. They said that they're going to make a trip.
You know,
out
I had never met Ken Ham, and I went to Australia to preach, and I'm in a restaurant in Australia, and Ken Ham walks in. So that's the first time I got to meet him. So we sat and talked for a while. This ministry of the Noah's Ark up in Kentucky, you know. Met in Australia, so okay.
That's awesome.
Anyway, those videos, we'll see Judgment Day how far God spread that. It's all I've ever asked. Lord, use me to reach as many as you can. Okay, so go to drdino.com, click that button, and make any checks to CSE, Creation Science Evangelism. Okay, we're in the book of Acts. We're now in chapter 22, if you want to follow along. The Old Testament is everything before Jesus came, and it encompasses almost exactly 3/4 of the Bible. You know, almost 75% of the Bible is things before Jesus came, the creation, the flood, the story of Abraham and Moses and David and all the prophets. That's all back here in the Old Testament. Then Jesus came and split history in half, so everything after that is called the New Testament. And there happen to be 39 books in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament. 3 times 9 is 27, and there are 39 books in the Old Testament. 3 times 9 is 27, total of 66 books in the Bible. Okay, the first 4 in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, are the 4 Gospels, the biographies of Jesus Christ. And we read through the book of Luke. If you want to get our, Steve, is the thumb drive ready with all the Luke slides that I did? Because I spend lots of time developing PowerPoint slides. The Luke study is ready on thumb drive if they want to get. Okay, Acts will be ready when we're done in a couple days. Okay, so we want you, if you teach a Sunday school class or teach and want to get all the work that I put into PowerPoint, and you can get it on a thumb drive to use for your Sunday school or church or sermons, whatever. I recommend use visuals, especially with this new dumber generation. They got to have something to look at. Okay, all right. Now we're in the book of Acts, which is the actions of the disciples. What did they do after Jesus left? Okay, and so I want to go to slide number 1031, enter. We left off at the end of Acts 21. Paul stood on the stairs because they were frantic. These people wanted to kill him. He's in Jerusalem. He stood on the stairs and beckoned with the hand, said, "Hey, quiet down. I want to talk." And he spoke to them in the Hebrew tongue. And these were Jews that were angry at him. They said, "Oh, he's speaking Hebrew. Listen up." If you recall, Paul actually took 4 journeys, 4 missionary journeys. His first journey, he left out of Antioch, traveled around, started a few churches, and came back. On his second journey, he went a little further, went to these churches again, and went over across the water into Greece, what today is Greece. It used to be called Achaia and Macedonia, and came back home. His third journey, he's been all over the place now, a little further, starting more churches, and he now ended up back in Jerusalem. He's back in Jerusalem, and his presence created a riot. Here comes Paul into Jerusalem, and they're upset. They want to kill him. He said, "Men and brethren," so Paul's preaching to this hostile crowd. Anybody ever done that before? I have to speak to a hostile crowd. All the debates I do, like, it's hilarious. They're like, "Oh. Men and brethren and fathers, hear ye my defense, which I now make unto you." And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence. And he saith, "I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel." Now, he's saying this to get their attention and to have them realize he's a devout, fully knowledgeable Jew. He knows what they believe. Gamaliel, that's like saying, "I went to school at Harvard or Princeton or Yale." I mean, this is the Ivy League. You studied under Gamaliel? Wow, he was considered he's the top of their group. And taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward God as ye all are this day. He said, "Guys, I understand what you're upset about. I was like you. I had all the training you had. And I persecuted this way unto the death." He said, "I used to go, the thing that I now support, Christianity, I used to go around killing them." And he did. "Binding and delivering into prisons both men and women. As also the high priest doth bear me witness, and all the estate of the elders, from whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus to bring them which were there, bound unto Jerusalem to be punished." Remember, we studied that chapter earlier. Paul's on the way to Damascus, Acts chapter 9. He wants to get the Christians there and bring them back and arrest them for not being Jews, persecuting anybody who's a different religion. On the way, a light shone, knocked him down, talked to him, ended up getting him converted. Okay. "And it came to pass that as I made my journey and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me. And I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me?" You want a good something for your kids, brother? There are 6 times in the Bible where God calls somebody twice. Abraham, Abraham, Moses, Moses, Saul, Saul. See if you can find all 6 of them. Okay. Not now. All right. Why persecutest thou me? And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. Now hold on a minute. Atheists love to jump on this and say, Hovind, there's a contradiction in the Bible. How many have ever heard people claim there are contradictions in the Bible? They're doing that to justify something in their own life. I said, really, what's the contradiction? He said, well, here it says in Acts 22:9, they heard the voice of him that spake to me. When you go back and read the story in Acts chapter 9, when it happened, the men which journeyed with him, stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. So, did they hear the voice or not? Hearing a voice, and this one says they heard not the voice. Well, is that a contradiction? No, absolutely. There's all kinds of websites that deal with this if you want to go, does Acts 9:7 contradict Acts 22:9? See, the atheist, if I was God, I'm not, by the way, but if I was God, I would write the book in such a way that those who hate me anyway would trip over their own so-called intelligence. They would see something and say, see, that's bad. But if you really study it, if you study to show yourself approved unto God, all these things can be resolved. Ching chong, ling long, ting tong. Sorry, I can't understand you. Is it possible to hear a voice and know it's a human talking, but still not hear what they are saying? Is that possible? How many have ever done that? I do that all the time. I go on deaf. What? Okay. Boudreaux came to Thibodeau and said, Thibodeau, I need to borrow $10. Thibodeau says, I can't hear you. This is my bad ear. Try this one. He says, hey, I need to borrow $20. He said, come back over to the $10 ear. Okay. Yes, sir.
I think one of the explanations for this is because the Greek and the Hebrew have a whole lot less words than we do in ours. This might have been, if written today, they'd say they didn't understand what they were saying,
right.
But they didn't have them words back then, so
it really is, it's a play on words, but there's a simple explanation. They could hear it was a man talking or a voice talking, but they couldn't understand what it was saying. It's not complicated. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. That's a good one. La, 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 I can't hear you. Huh? Huh? I can't hear you. Please speak up. I can't hear you. I can't hear you over the sound of me not listening. That'll take a minute to soak in. I can't hear you. It's too dark in here. That'll take a minute. I can't hear you. Let me put my glasses on. I can't. What'd you say? I'm sorry, I had my eyes closed. What'd you say? I can't hear you. I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the majesty of my beard. The fastest way to stop an argument between a bunch of deaf people, switch off the lights. So, the guys heard a voice and didn't understand what it was saying. It's not a contradiction between these two verses. Anyway, back to chapter 10. And I said, what shall I do, Lord? You know, when he said this, you could tell something switched. Paul was angry. He's going there to beat everybody up and haul the Christians off and arrest them. And this light knocks him down and he's blind. And poof, he's got a change of attitude. What would you like me to do, Lord? Have you ever had that experience where you're resisting something and then you finally just surrender and say, okay, I surrender, I give up. You got to do that with the Lord. Sometimes your kids have to do that. You tell them what to do, they don't want to do it, and you got to, and as you punish them by whatever means necessary, pretty soon they say, oh, okay, Dad, I surrender. That's essential. You got to surrender to the Lord. Okay, what shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, arise and go into Damascus, and there it shall be told thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. And when I could not see for the glory of that light, being led by the hand of them that were with me, I came into Damascus. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there, came unto me and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight. If you remember the story back in Acts 9, Ananias did not want to go talk to Paul, or Saul. His name was Saul earlier, now Paul. When the Lord said, hey, go to this guy's house and I want you to get this guy and baptize him. He said, Lord, this is Saul. He's been killing Christians. God said, Ananias, go talk to him. How many of you have ever had God to get a little rough with you to get you to do what he wanted you to do? Get your attention first. You do that when you train a dog. I said, sit down. Explain it to you. Hey, by the way, brother, we got 6 donkeys here. You need about 5 of them over at your place? We got too many.
You got a lot of donkeys.
Yeah, they just keep coming. And then we got a baby one born, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we'll figure it out after we get a fence up.
I get a fence, okay. And you got to move in. Okay, the same hour I looked upon him. So in other words, he got his sight back. Verse 14. And he said, the God of our fathers hath chosen thee, that thou shouldst know his will, and see the just one, and should hear the voice of his mouth. For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. So he's just recounting the story. 3 times in the New Testament, Paul tells the story of his conversion. Acts 9, Acts 22, and then again in Acts 26. You ought to share your testimony often. Say, here's what happened to me. That's the best way to witness to folks. I can't tell what happened to everybody else, but I know what happened to me. So tell what happened to you. So Paul's doing that here. And the voice said, and now the man said, now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord. This is one of 3 verses the Church of Christ likes to use to say the water washes away the sins, which is silly interpretation. It's the blood of Christ that cleanseth us from all sin. We'll get into that in another time. Okay, verse 22. And it came to pass that when I was come again to Jerusalem, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance, and I saw him saying unto me, make haste and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. And I said, Lord, they know that I imprisoned and beat in every synagogue them that believe on thee. And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I was standing and consenting to his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him. And he said unto me, this would be the voice said to Paul, depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. And when they gave him audience unto this word, this is the word, Gentiles, that triggered them. He's talking to all the Jews. He said, the Lord told me to go to the Gentiles. Bingo, they shut him off after that. Because the Jews don't think the Gentiles deserve to hear the word. It's exclusive to them. They're the chosen people. And then lifted up their voices and said, away with such a fellow from the earth, it is not fit that he should live. I think they're a little upset with Paul. See, the Jews were so convinced that they were special and God wasn't interested in the rest of the world that they hated the idea of one of them going to the Gentiles. Many Jews thought Gentiles were just animals made to be exploited. God made the Gentiles just like he made the cows, and it's our job to milk them for everything we can get out of them. That was their thinking to many of them. There's all kinds of websites on Jews' attitudes toward non-Jews down through history. Hitler took advantage of this smart aleck attitude they had and turned his people against them completely, went way overboard. But some of them do just have a smart aleck attitude, like we're Jews and you're not, so we're superior and you're not. There's all kinds of websites on this topic if you want to get it. They've got a word they call us the Goy or the Goyim. How many have ever heard that before? Oh, you're Goyim? Oh, that's their slang word of saying, hey, he's not one of us, he's just a cow. Or something similar to that. Biblical and rabbinic literature, with some exceptions, reflect a negative view of non-Jews based on moral rather than racial or other grounds. In ancient times, before the rise of Islam and Christianity, non-Jews were presumed to be idolaters, and idolatry was associated with moral deviancy. Gentiles were disparaged not because they weren't Jewish, but because they were assumed to be morally deficient. Jews' attitude toward non-Jews. Now you got to watch this very carefully. This is the level, basic. When they first are learning about Judaism, they learn the basic level. Once they get up to the higher levels, then they learn the truth. A lot of religions have hidden stages that you got to be to a certain degree. The Masonic Lodge does that. You got to get up to 32nd degree before you really learn the secrets in the Masonic Lodge, you know. These secret cults all have this kind of, but the Jews do too. At the basic level, they teach you one thing, and as you get higher up, they teach you something else.
I think LDS is kind of like that too.
What's that? LDS, very much like that. I had 2 Mormon missionaries come to my door when I first moved to Pensacola, and they said, Mr. Hovind, we want to talk to you about the Lord. I said, well, great. Whose Lord would you like to talk about, yours or mine? They said, we serve the same Lord. I said, no, we don't. I said, does your God have a body like mine? They said, yeah. I said, does your God live on the planet Kolob, K-O-L-O-B? They said, well, yeah, we think he does. I said, does your God have thousands of wives? Yeah, yeah. Does your God have physical relations with those wives to produce spirit babies up in heaven? Yeah. And the human couple on earth only produces the body, but your God in heaven produces the spirit. Is that right? Yeah. And as the baby's being born, he puts one of his spirits into that baby. Is that what you believe? They said, yeah. I said, and if it's a good spirit baby up in heaven and obeys God, it comes down and gets a white-skinned body. But if it's a bad spirit baby, it gets a black-skinned body. Is that what you believe? But they looked at each other, and one of them said, well, you're not supposed to know that, but yeah, that is what we believe. That's one of the secret teachings they save till you're really into it. That black people have a spirit baby from heaven that was a bad spirit baby. That's one of the examples of, see, basic level, they would never teach that to the new people coming in studying Mormonism. They're not ready for it yet. They wait till they get to the higher level. So the Jews do the same thing with their basic level teaching, and then intermediate level, and then the higher level, and then when you really get to the advanced, then, yeah, right, now you're invested. And you've taken all these O's, like the Masonic Lodge does, you know, cut my tongue out and bury me at low tide, you know, up to my neck and all this kind of stuff. And then they've got you hooked. Yeah, you don't dare come out. That's a long story for another day. Okay, so verse number 23. And as they cried out and cast off their clothes and threw dust into the air, chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle and bade he should be examined by scourging. In other words, we're going to beat the truth out of him. That's the Roman way to do it. Let's make sure we get what he wants, scourge him. That he might know whereof they cried so against him. Now, a Roman scourge is a handle with several little leather thongs with a bunch of little rocks or pieces of bone or glass in it. So every time they hit you and jerk it back, it's going to cause enormous damage with each stripe. Because each whip, each time they hit you, it might make 5 or 6 gashes. And
barbed wire, it grabs it.
And yeah, grab it and pull it out. They say, well, Jesus got 39 lashes. Oh, no. The Jews had a law, you could never give more than 40. So the Jews always gave 39 lashes to be sure they didn't break the law. Jesus wasn't beaten by the Jews. He was beaten by the Romans, and they didn't have any such law. We don't know how many lashes he got under their scourge. But they were going to lash Paul to get the truth out of him. Here's a slave, famous picture on the internet, a slave that apparently master beat him often here in the South when slavery was legal. Verse 25, and as they bound him with thongs, Paul said to the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? And when the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, take heed that thou doest, this man is a Roman. Now, had he not claimed his rights, he would have gotten the beating. In America, we have an article or a document called the Bill of Rights. You've got certain rights. Many government officials way overstep their boundary because nobody questions them on it. How long could you talk on that topic?
Oh, they've been talking about it since 1791.
Right, still talking about it. For instance, which can we take one example of?
Actually, the Bill of Rights is not afforded to the U.S. citizens, so you got to be very, very understanding of what that is about.
So, how do you become a U.S. citizen?
You raise your right hand and take the oath of citizenship.
You have only people that come in to raise their right hand before a judge or a magistrate and say, and so everybody born here thinks they're a citizen.
Yep, and when they are in court and say that, they lose the protection of the Bill of Rights.
So they start off in the court case and ask you, are you a U.S. citizen? And if you say yes, you just lost your Bill of Rights.
And you probably lost your case because
probably lost your case because of it. Yeah. So example, somebody stops a person for speeding on the highway. Excuse me, do you own this road? You know, there are all kinds of things. Just be cautious about your right. Paul knew full well, hey, sir, I'm a Roman. Had he not done this, he would have gotten a beating. How many people could get out of going to prison if they knew how to preserve their rights? Many? Most?
most of them, yeah.
Yeah.
They could be prosecuted in a different court, but they get out of the U.S. prison.
Get out of the U.S. court system. Well, you told me if I hire this lawyer, I'm going to lose my case.
In 2006.
In 2006. I didn't understand what you meant back then. I understand now. You were right. He lost the case for me deliberately.
Yep.
Alan Stewart Ritchie, Port Arthur, Washington.
I told you point for point how he was going to do it.
How he's going to, yeah, you did. And he gave me 9 years in prison, 10 years in prison, served almost 9. So Paul knew how to preserve his rights. So you might want to be cautious what you say. Okay, that's another story for another day. Okay, verse 27. Then the chief captain came and said to him, "Tell me, art thou a Roman?" He said, "Yea." And the chief captain answered, "With a great sum obtained I this freedom." But Paul said, "I was freeborn. two different classes of Roman citizens in those days. Paul's the higher class. You were free, you're born a citizen. Whoa, okay. Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him. And the chief captain also was afraid, after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he bound him. And on the morrow, because he would have known the certainty whereof he was accused of the Jews, he loosed him from his bands and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear, and brought Paul down and set him before them. End of chapter 22. Okay, any questions or comments from this group? Paul, just trying to preach the gospel. The people he's preaching to didn't want to hear it. They didn't know how to shut him up any other way with logic and rationale, so they used force. Watch the anti-Hovind websites. It's hilarious.
You know, we haven't gotten a single ticket on this trip, and I attribute that partially to, officer, can I offer you this
really? Okay.
law enforcement reference manual?
Ah, there you go. Well, it's interesting. The one, Mark Drysdale, the atheist I've debated a couple times, you know, has been texting back and forth with me. I want to win him to the Lord. His wife is a Christian and prays for him. But he said, I'm going to contact all the other atheists and tell them not to debate you anymore as punishment for the way you behave or something.
This will show you.
I think it's because they're chicken. There. Just imagine, we all came from a rock, dissolved in water, 4.6 billion years ago. I'm really trying to help, I am, but he's going to tell all of them, don't debate Hovind anymore. Okay.
They have no more sense than a rock.
But see, the mentality that these Jews had, as soon as they got in their head, we've got to shut Paul up by by force. They wanted to kill him just because of what he taught. Was he hurting anybody? Was he encouraging lawlessness? No. He just taught the truth, and they hated him for it. And I just try to teach the truth. I try to use knowledge and science, which means knowledge. Dogs produce dogs, without exception. Now, if you wish to believe, SpongeBob style, that dogs are related to whales and bananas, you can believe that. I don't care what you believe, but that's not science. It's a religion. And I'll say that till I die, and some of them are hoping I die soon.
I will still shove you in their face when you're gone.
Right, you're going to keep showing my email in my face after I'm gone. So killing me wouldn't do any good, would it?
Nope.
You guys, you know, instead of hating me and trying to, you know, shut me down, why don't you pay attention and listen? Better yet.
Probably just have you stuffed and put in the museum.
Pay attention. Listen. All right. Anything else from this group? Thank you so much. Large crowd here today. Come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. Come see what we're doing. We're open. Having a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow. Bye.